What's up, Tampa? It is Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, and it is time for the Let's Go Low show right here on AM 820, the Big 8. This is Jeff Stanislaw, your host with Golfers Unite, and it's Caddie Corner time with my friend Mike Hicks. Mike was formerly Payne Stewart's caddy. Today, we're going to talk about a hot topic that broke recently, and that's the changes going at the PGA Tour. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good, Jeff. Doing great. Hope you are.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're in the midst of some changes from the PGA Tour. Recently, they announced that they are kind of breaking up the tour into two, categories. They're going to have a championship series and a challenger series, and kind of mixing it up a little bit. So the championship is going to have 23 to 24 events with 4 majors, and the challenger is going to have 20 events, and there's going to be some cool stuff around that. What are your thoughts just taking a step back on the PGA making a change like this? Is it needed? Should they have left it alone? We can talk a little bit further about the details on the changes, but just overall the shakeup that's going on.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But golf is not like any other sport. Baseball, basketball, football. You have to play golf to be sharp. So I'm just worried that the product will, the level of golf and the quality of golf. I mean, you look at Live. I mean, those guys play 15 events, and the ones that are fortunate enough to play in the majors, that's 19. And it's just hard to stay sharp. You're not playing. You got to play 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row to really peak, so to speak, with your golf swing and your golf game. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But the model wasn't broken that they had. And I think that some of these sponsors are going to go away. It'll be interesting to see. 20 events for the lower tier, for the challenge tour, so to speak.
That's not enough.
That's not enough. That's exactly. So what it says to me is that they only got 20 sponsors that are committed to doing that tier. I'm sure they're hoping they're going to get another 8 or 10 that'll sign on, but who knows? And another question is, where's all this money coming from? Where are they getting the money?
Yeah,
I think it's this new TV deal that's going to be signed, that the networks are going to stick it to them. You watch, because they stuck it to the networks the last TV deal.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. To me, the formula wasn't broken. So I don't know. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
I think part of it, just taking a step back as a golf fan, and I think there was kind of a lot of confusion of what is what. I do understand probably having the 2 series is maybe easier for a lot of average golfers to really understand, because there was confusion over the last couple of years, what type of event is this? Is this, a big event? Is it a small event? Now the championship and the challenger series kind of make sense from a simplicity standpoint. This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820. Our special guest, Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's caddy, is with us. Brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. And if you guys want to check it out, you get free deals, free opportunities. Get the hookups at golfersunite.com. And for $30, you can get a lot more. So, Mike, just kind of on that thing, making it simpler. I do like that aspect. And I think you're right in regards to what's going on here locally. They moved the Valspar back until mid to late May of 2027. I am pretty confident that Valspar is not happy with that, because as the sponsor, Valspar sells paint. to consumers.
Yeah.
And you think spring, you think painting, right? You think, I'm going to paint my house this spring and what have you, but you're probably not in the same mindset in mid-May. It's summertime, it's going into summertime. So I'm sure they weren't exactly thrilled with that. But it's done, and you got to make the best of it. One thing that I thought was interesting that they did, in the two series, the championship series and the challenger series, is they're bringing relegation to the game, similar to soccer. What are your thoughts on relegations where players get moved up and moved down, from these championship to challenger series and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good way to do it. I mean, there's got to be some level of demotion, so to speak. I mean, if you don't perform, you get sent down. I mean, I think that's possibly a good way to do it. To touch back on your Valspar thing, and listen, mid-May is a bad month as far as grass, right? You're in transition. They overseed that golf course. A lot of don't they overseed the fairways there for that tournament?
Oh yeah, they prep.
So you're going to be in transition there, where the Bermuda's trying to choke out the overseed, and if you don't catch a very warm month of April and early May, you're going to have issues as far as the grass goes. You're going to have one grass fighting another, and it's not going to be pretty. And the fact that I don't know what the schedule is going to look like, but Valspar, they had a pretty good date there. They right after wasn't it right after TPC?
Yep. Right after the Players Championship.
Those guys, most of those guys, could fit that in because it is such a good venue. Those guys like playing, tougher golf courses and where it's not a putting contest. And, they always had good fields down there. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But, as far as looking at the timing of it all, could be an issue as far as the golf course and the grass.
They swapped the Cadillac for the Valspar.
The Cadillac. What's the Cadillac?
So the Cadillac is the one at Doral.
Oh, at Doral. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That just came back in this year, right?
Yeah.
Now, is Valspar going to be a one of the 23 or 24?
They haven't announced everything yet in regard
Okay.
to whether it's a championship or a challenger event.
Okay.
So, but I know, especially like with the Cadillac at Doral, and I know it's got, some good panache, but it just came back last year for the first time. So I was thinking that they would probably, let it ride for another year or two, and then maybe make the changes in 2028 where this whole championship Challenger series is set to take place. I don't think they should have done it for 2027. I think they should have let it stand. But it is what it is. And then I do love the idea about the relegation. Having players move up and players move down based on play is a fantastic idea. You're listening to Let's Go Low on AM 820 right here in Tampa. It's brought to you by golfersunite.com and our friend Mike Hicks, who always does the Caddie Corner. If you want to check out his website, it's MikeHicksGolf.com. And Mike is also, available for teaching. He could be a guest, a VIP on your bag at an event. If you want some more information, you can go to MikeHicks.com, MikeHicksGolf.com. So Mike, kind of talking on that regulation. Now, here's the challenge that I see for the younger golfers. We all know that, getting your tour card, they're shrinking that. Now they have 20 challenger events. There's been no announcements on the Corn Ferry Tour in regards to this. My thoughts are that possibly the Corn Ferry is coming up for contract. They're positioning it for a change. But with that being said, and you can talk a little bit further on that. The emerging golfer is going to have a harder time, with these limited number of tour cards available and limited number of events available to get in. I'm at least hoping like every one of these Challenger series has Monday qualifiers for some spots. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, look, there are so many people trying to make a living playing golf now. So many people trying to play professional golf, and they're limiting places to play. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, it's very difficult for a kid that's been dreaming since he was single digits to play professional golf, and now they're making that dream harder and harder, in my opinion, to make the ultimate goal and make it out there. Now you can say this, the good players will make it, and that's true. But golf is such a fickle game. I mean, if you don't get the opportunity, I mean, listen, these qualifiers and getting to, getting a card, whether it's Korn Ferry or PGA Tour, back in the day when you had the qualifying school, but now it's Korn Ferry, it's a crapshoot. I mean, if you don't have it that week, which you know how golf is, I mean, sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't.
Right.
You might be going into it playing great and then just be a little off and miss. Now you got to wait a whole nother year. It's very difficult. The old cliche, it's difficult to get out there, but once you do, if you can play, it's easy to stay. And that's true. So I don't know, man. I mean, to me, the system wasn't broken. Liv threw a freaking wrench into everything. And they've hired this NFL guy to run the PGA Tour. Well, this ain't the NFL. I can't believe they didn't get a golf person in, like a Peter Jacobson or, now Peter's, almost 70 years old now. He's late 60s, I think. But somebody that played professional golf and knows the golf industry to run the tour. And now they've got this NFL guy that's trying to change it to a model of the NFL where you're playing, limited number of tournaments. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's interesting in regards to their choice in that selection, and I'm all for change and what have you and doing something new, but you got to have someone that has the experience, be a part of it, and so we'll see how that shakes out. But they are doing some good things. The relegation, so the top 90 championship players keep their status. And then 20 promoted are up from the Challenger each year. So, you got to keep that going. But the purse on the Challenger series has went to $4 million. So, I think that is good. And $20 million on the championship series is what they're doing. But it's, it's simple supply and demand. And I don't know if it really works in golf. Like you look at baseball, whatever, 163 games, and it's a long season and what have you. And, you look at football and, you got whatever, 16, 20 weeks of football. So I think they're trying to kind of supply and demand it, right? You shrink the field, you create more demand and create more buzz around it. But back to your previous statement, which I think is very valuable, is these guys need to play golf.
Yeah.
And they need to play a lot of golf because golf comes in ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
You got something going on with your driver and it's not working the way it is. It takes, 4 to whatever, maybe 3 to 5 tournaments to get your driver back into shape. Then all of a sudden, if there's too big of gaps, and then you're struggling, once again. So I think your comment is spot on there. As far as the number of playing, what, in general, what are your thoughts on, if you're a younger player, what would you recommend them here to do?
Well, it'll also be interesting to see what they do with the DP World Tour, right? Are they is that still going to be an avenue to get yourself on the PGA Tour? Now, you know, you look at Brooks. Brooks went over there, played their challenge tour, and, you know, got his DP World card, got his card there, and then got in the top 50 for good play. And, you know, I've always said it's easier to go over there and work your way through the ranks and get yourself in that world ranking. I mean, it's been proven the fields are much deeper over here. You know, the Corn Ferry Tour is deeper than the DP World Tour. They're more good players. I mean, that's just a fact. You could go to Europe, go that route. Now it'll be interesting to see. Are they gonna incorporate the DP World Tour, different spots? You know, I mean, how it all is going to come together is going to be interesting. But that's an avenue, but that's tough.
Right.
Because you're traveling to a different country every week.
Yeah.
Travel is brutal. You know, it's an expensive way to go. You know, what are they going to do with these lower tours, that Canadian tour, South America tour, all these little tours that, you know,
we're going to have to
promote
find out.
you up to the next level. I mean, how's that all going to work out? And another, how to come up with $4 million for the challenge tour? How about just round it off to 5?
Right. Well, we're going to have to stay tuned in to Let's Go Low here right on AM 820. We'll bring back Mike Hicks on the Caddie Corner. Thanks a lot, Tampa. Let's go low. Welcome back, everybody in Tampa. Thanks for tuning in. This is Jeff Stanislaw, your host, and it is time for the Let's Go Low show right here on the Big 8, Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Today on Caddie's Corner, we have our friend Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's former caddy, and we have a special guest with us, Timothy Palmer from Looper Talk. So I got the new generation Looper, and I got the old school Looper with the tons of experience and 3 majors under his belt. We're going to have a great talk today about caddying and the future of caddying, talk about, you know, other things in the PGA. So welcome, gentlemen. Mike, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no worries, Jeff. Glad to be here.
Tim, first time on the show. Thanks for coming in and joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I'm really excited about this conversation. And, you know, caddying is just kind of like this lost art, I think. And one of the things Tim has been working on is trying to, you know, bring back the lore, the mystique of, you know, being on the bag with someone. He's over at Bandon Dunes, one of the best golf courses in the world. You know, Mike has been on the bag for Payne Stewart and many other professionals, winning the U.S. Open and other majors. Quite the experience. Maybe we'll kick it off with you, Timothy, just talking a little bit about the modern day caddy and what you're seeing in the biz.
Yeah, I think the modern caddy to me is more or less, especially in my line of work, we tend to find ourselves more or less not really talking about the information regarding golf. We're more serving the guest. I always say the most important part of a caddy is reading the room. And so in my line of work, I deal with multiple personalities, and within those multiple personalities, I have to adapt and adjust. I always speak to fellow caddies that it's not always how well your information is, it's how well you can sell that information to your player. So your player is comfortable enough to believe you in order for them to perform that shot, because as I'm sure Mike would agree, whether you believe something's going to happen or not, if your player does not feel comfortable over the ball, it's very unlikely for that situation to occur the way we want to. So it's when I'm dealing with higher handicaps, or I'm dealing with your average golfer in my line of work, and we deal with a lot of conditions, I tend to have to be more open-minded with my information. And so I have to really learn the player pretty fast. And then I also have to make sure that what I'm saying and what I'm doing is within their capacity of performing that task. So I think in terms of the modern caddy, we tend to find ourselves almost more as a psychologist when you come to recreational golfers than it does more or less about knowing the golf game and understanding how the basics of that work. So.
Yes. Now going into Mike Hicks, this is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com, and Mike Hicks Golf, MikeHicksGolf.com. Mike, one of the things that Tim mentioned was, becoming a psychologist and working with different types of players and reading the player, reading the room more so. Now you did this at a professional level. Maybe you got a quick story of someone that you were on the bag with professionally that might have been a challenge for you in regards to that.
Well, they're all a challenge, and he's right. You have to adapt to that personality. But in my case, you're with a guy for longer stretches. He's one day and done, so he's got 4 hours to figure it out. Now, I have a question for Tim. When you guys are assigned a bag, are you watching these guys warm up, or are you just catching the bag and going to the first tee?
Catching the bag, going to the first tee.
So there's a chance. Now, it's not a done deal, but I've been approached, and my organization has been approached to maybe coming out there and giving the caddies at Bandon Dunes some help, training them, basically. And my idea is you're going to get a better read on who you're about to caddy for if you're watching them warm up and watching, what kind of skill level you're getting ready to deal with. Not only watching them warm up, but giving them a little extra love, so to speak. Like, my job as a professional caddy every day was, before when we got to the range, was to clean the grips on the club. Now, most of the people you're caddying for every day, guarantee you they've never cleaned their grips. They just wear them out and get get new grips. But all you got to do is clean them up every now and again, and they're just as good as new. So, giving that little extra love to the guy you're getting ready to caddy for could increase your tip and give you access to what skill level you're getting ready to caddy for. Now, most of the guys you're caddying for out there, I guarantee, are not capable of a whole lot. So makes your job very tough. And I would imagine you're probably carrying 2 bags, right?
Yes, about 95% of the time.
About 95% of the time. So, and that's another pet peeve of mine. I feel like, especially if you're at a special place, everybody should have their own caddy, because you're paying all this money to play out there, and it should be an individual and a special experience. So that's a story for another day, a battle for another day. I feel like everybody should have their own caddy and no doubles. But that's, like I said, that's a story for another day. But, if we do get hired to come out there and help you guys out, that's one thing I'm going to recommend everybody do. You get assigned, you go watch your guy, warm up to see what you're getting ready to deal with, right? It'll give you a better perspective and you can kind of game plan out, the golf course for this person, right? If you watch him warm up, and like I said, you show a little extra love, you clean up his grips, might increase the tip at the end of the day. So that's just an idea I have that I'm going to share with everybody out there if that does come to fruition.
We're talking with Tim Palmer from Looper Talk. Got a fantastic social media channel. Make sure you guys check it out. Just search up at Looper Talk on the social channels and you'll find him. And also Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's former caddy, talking about the art of caddying right here on the Let's Go Low show, AM 820 every Saturday morning, brought to you by Golfers Unite. Check out golfersunite.com and Mike Hicks Golf, MikeHicksGolf.com. So your response to that, Tim, just about the logistics side of things. I played Old Memorial a little while back, and it was the same thing. Basically, I got introduced on the first tee to my caddy, and it was just like nothing previously was said. You just kind of had to figure it out. I just don't. Is it just a logistic thing that these that the clubs do, that they don't give you enough time to do proper introductions and work with your guy and get them set up properly for that first tee?
I think it depends on the golf course. Unfortunately, at Bandon, we have one range that accommodates 4 courses, and we have some days we have up to 1,000 rounds a day. So these players are all over the place. We don't know when they're going to show up to the range. We don't know who they are. There's hundreds and hundreds of people flowing in and out of that range per hour. So to have caddies go find their players on the range, that's going to require it's going to be quite a bit of a logistics thing there to have every player introduce themselves to somebody where that caddy can then meet them on the range. That would be, and we don't know how long they're going to be on the range. Some of these guys don't even go to the range. They just go straight from the pro shop. So
yeah. That's something that you could, you could incorporate into your app too, though. Is Bandon Dunes, are they rating the caddy experience through your app yet? Are they doing that?
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about the app you're working on?
Yeah, so it's called Verified Caddy Network. It's an app that ranks caddies, and it gives players and courses access to these rankings. And the rankings go by national rankings, and they go by state rankings. And the reason why I did that is I had a gentleman from TPC Scottsdale I recently interviewed, and he talked about the nepotism within the PGA Tour caddy yard, and he thought that there wasn't a direct access for caddies like myself at resorts to have a chance to be on a tour player's bag. And so I thought, well, what if we created a LinkedIn situation for caddies to where we can rank them? You see their reviews, you see who they're caddied for, the tournaments they've caddied for. It essentially gives them a resume, and then that resume can then be showcased to courses or to players in hopes that if they want to be hired or at least want to have a tryout with somebody or whatever, they can then provide their value through this app. And it's still in beta testing right now. I've got, I think, 25, 30 people testing it. I want to make sure it's really well done before I release it. But I just wanted to create some sort of access point for caddies all over the country. Now, again, not caddies, it's not mandatory, but there is some caddies that feel stuck at their golf course that they're at, feel like they can grow. They don't feel no progression really. It's just, I'm at this golf course, I've mastered it. Okay, where do I go from here? So I'm hoping this app would provide that opportunity for these guys to maybe get into some member guests at a different course, or again, some Corn Ferry guy wants to try out a different guy. He can go on this app, or lady, excuse me, and they can use this app as a way to gain that access.
Are you promoting this thing to the different clubs that do take caddies, that are walking courses?
No, I have not even gotten that far yet.
Yeah, right. Well, that's where you need to go with it, and
yep.
In my opinion, and that way you can set up exactly what I was talking about, where if they're playing at Bandon Dunes, and I'm not going to say Brandon Dune has to make you download the app, but it would be a suggestion to have the app. That way you can communicate with the person that's going to caddy for you the night before.
Yes. And
set up a time if they are going to warm up. Now granted, I understand. I mean, it does add a little bit of time to your day. I get it, because, you're showing up an hour before your tee time. But I think in the long run, the extra love that you give the player you're getting ready to caddy for, in the long run, it's going to be monetarily a benefit to you.
Love the concept. This is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 every Saturday morning. This is our special edition, Caddie's Corner, with Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's former caddy, and our special guest, Timothy Palmer from Looper Talk. Tim, that app sounds like a great idea, and we'd love to have you come back. I love the concept of bringing that matchmaking between caddies and players, and making requests and doing all that great things. We'll have you come back as your development progresses. Right now we got a couple minutes left. I kind of wanted to talk about what's the most important thing, Mike, as a professional caddy, being on the bag for Payne Stewart and several others, What's the most important maybe recommendation that you can give to Timothy as a younger caddy out at Bandon to improve his skills, or even think about like from the player's perspective? How can a player help the caddy? This is a mutually exclusive arrangement that, with a common goal of playing better golf and enjoying your experience.
Well, the thing about club caddying is, 95% of the time he's dealing with two people. And most of the time, neither one of them can play. So it's a very, very difficult gig. I mean, I've seen it over and over, and I my hat's off to the guys that carry two and have to deal with two different personalities. That's tough. So, our school, the school we prepare the caddies for professional golf, which over qualifies you to caddy at a resort or club caddy. We go in depth with, we teach everybody how to aim point. We teach how to read TrackMan. Statistics. We have a stat guy come in, shows you how to keep up with all that stuff. So we prepare the people that take our class for today's professional golf tour. Now, maybe the aim point, the rest of the stuff you ain't going to use at a club. But, if you catch a guy that can play, aim point would come in handy. But most of the people you're caddying for can't start it on the line you want them to anyway. So it doesn't matter.
So Tim, what do you got to say on that? I mean, I guess what's one of the most important things that you do on a daily basis when you're out there on a loop with now you got two guys on the bag carrying double bags? That's got to be jockeying, but we got a little bit left here. Let me know what's most important.
Staying ahead of the curve. I always have to think 3 to 4 steps ahead. And because my goal is to make sure their experience is fun. So I feel like on a professional level, you're more or less trying to get that information correct, where I'm dealing with is more or less trying to provide experience. So I'll go back to what I originally said, reading the room. I have to really understand each person and what they want. Some people don't want any information at all, and some people want every little blade of grass. And so I have to make sure that I accommodate both of those personalities, and sometimes it has to be at the same time. So I believe my focus more or less is on providing that experience. And if I do get a good player and they want to use aim point, we can do that. That's fine. But again, I have to be more equipped on not only being ready for a good player, but also have to be equipped on providing experience and helping out the average golfer. So it really is about reading the room for me.
Fantastic. Timothy Palmer, Looper Talk, Mike Hicks Golf. This is Jeff Stanislaw. Thanks for tuning in, Tampa, for another episode of Let's Go Low. Welcome back. This is Jeff Stanislaw, and it's time to go low right here on AM 820, serving the greater Tampa Bay area and all over on the www World Wide Web on our YouTube station. Check out golfersunite.com for more. We have our special guest back for a second segment. It is Mike Hicks, who is always on our Caddie's Corner. Payne Stewart's former caddy, major winner. And now we have Timothy Palmer from Looper Talk joining us, carrying over for our first segment because we barely got into the woods talking about the caddy world. So thanks again for coming back, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yep.
So we were just kind of, talking about the caddy world and certifications, and Tim's working on a really cool app idea that's in beta about connecting caddies with players. We really love it. We went off tangent when we were off the air about this, but I wanted to get us back on course to talk a little bit more about a situation which arose, and that is the vote at Pebble Beach, the unionization vote. This is something that's pretty serious and kind of rocked the caddy world, the golf world for that matter, where the caddies voted by 76% in favor to unionize with Unite Here Local 19. No relations to Golfers Unite. Let's put it that way. Just on a quick blush, Mike, what are your thoughts about caddies unionizing?
I had no idea. This is all news to me. So
Well, yeah, we should probably pick this one up and kick it over to Tim, who's actually.
kick that one to Tim. This is the first time I've heard of the caddies at Pebble Beach unionizing. So
Yeah, well,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Your 40-year career kind of excludes you for some.
So
current
they
stuff.
obviously have left Caddy Master then.
That's what the discussion's all about. Tim, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I think there was a situation there that didn't need to be fixed, and someone came in there trying to fix it. And in essence, they were more or less trying to take some of their funding from what the caddies make, and they were trying to propose it in a way to where they get a 401k and all this stuff, but it took away a lot of freedom from them. And so I'm all in for it. I've been given information from quite a few of them. I have a few buddies out there, and they were telling me the whole backstory. And I think them unionizing gives caddy back that backbone of being independent contractors, and rightfully so. And they did a very good job. That's why Pebble Beach is #1 golf course in the United States. I think a lot of that experience is catered to caddies. They provide a big pillar for that experience, or for that experience. So I really do think that what they're doing is they are giving inspiration for many caddy yards to get back into the original ways of caddying, which is independent contractors. We deal with our own finances. We pay our own taxes. We sort of have that freedom again. And yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, they basically wanted to make them employees. This is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 Tampa Bay. Check out Golfers Unite. That's who's sponsoring this, golfersunite.com. And our friend Mike Hicks, MikeHicksGolf.com. If you want to reach out to Mike and maybe even have it on your bag or come speak at a special event, check out MikeHicksGolf.com. So there was 300 caddies at Pebble Beach Golf Links, Spyglass, the Links of Spanish Bay, and Del Monte that all got together, and they are all employed by Caddy Master. So they wanted to bring them in as hourly employees and take away their independence. And, you know, they touted the corporate line like, oh, 401ks and stuff like that. But the caddies just said that this should be an independent situation, and they voted on it. 76% agreed. Mike, your life has been revolved around an independent caddy. You've been on the bags with, Payne Stewart and the highest level of professionals. What was like a contract with there? Was it a handshake deal? Did you actually have contracts with these people?
Verbal. It's all verbal. And let me tell you, I've been paying my own health insurance. I pay my own travel. I mean, I'm an independent contractor. I mean, I've got, I contribute to my own 401k. The PGA Tour, as much as they control the caddies to a certain extent, and they do, all the rest of it, it's a handshake and a verbal contract. You could be here today, gone tomorrow. I've seen it happen. So there are no contracts. You're not signing anything. They can let you go. There's no 2-week notice. I had one guy over 42 years that gave me a 2-week notice, and that was Don Pooley back in 1982 or whatever it was. And he stood to that. He gave me the next 2 weeks, and that gave me plenty of time to find another job, because when I was doing it, there was only 60 of us traveling each week, so there was plenty of work. So yeah, kudos to the Pebble Beach guys. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did that. I can't believe, I know the director of golf there personally, and I can't believe that, and I'm not saying he had anything to do with it. I'm sure that was all, ownership wanting to do that. I can't believe that, my friend would have anything to do with that. But kudos to the caddies for standing up. I mean, that's BS. Hourly wage Okay, hourly wage, I want, $250 an hour. I'm going to be out there 5 hours. That's $12.50. I can work with that.
Yeah.
No, they wanted to pay him just a little bit over minimum wage in California.
Yeah, exactly.
About
So
17
come on.
bucks an hour. It's this is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. Check out, we have free membership where you can get access, get the hookup for 4 deals for free, including brands like Pinned, foundgolfballs.com, Bangarang Golf, and more. And for $30 for the year, you get access to 14 more great brand deals. So, I think David Stivers, the CEO of Pebble, basically said, hey, listen, I support the vote. They kind of had to be kind of Switzerland no matter which way it went. But I think he really likes the ideas of having the best caddies at one of the best resorts that they can get, and they should earn the wages that merits the way they caddy and how they treat people. So, Tim,
So let me jump in here. Let me say this. First of all, there's over half of America could not walk 18 holes and carry a bag, much less 2 bags. Let me just say that. So, you're taking half the population couldn't even physically do what a caddy does. Am I right or wrong? Do you agree with that, Tim?
100%.
And listen,
100%.
you can't believe how hard that is to do 18 holes. Now, if you're carrying a tour bag, it might be comparable to carrying 2. Carrying 2 is just, I've done it. I couldn't do it full time. There's just no way. Carrying a staff bag was hard enough. Then you factor in weather and elements. And like I said, half of America could not do it, and it's about time that caddies are getting their due here, especially resort and club caddies, because not many people could do it, could walk 18 holes and carry 1, much less 2.
Tim, Timothy Palmer, Looper Talk, on with us today on the Let's Go Low show here. What was the banter at Bandon about this whole thing? I'm sure everybody was tuned in and was, topic of discussion back in the barn and what have you. What was the sentiment?
Well, I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but according to who I spoke with, we have 600 caddies at our yard, 600 plus. So there's quite a few personalities. Yes, I think predominantly majority we were in favor of it. We agreed totally, especially with what Mike's saying. That we are 100% for what Pebble Beach is doing. There obviously was some talks that if that ever happened at Bandon, how that would work out. We would obviously do the same thing. I think that was more of a fantasizing situation there. But in terms of being with the Pebble Beach caddies, we are 100% with them on this. And again, I don't want to speak to everybody from the Bandon yard, but I would say the vast majority of us would agree with what they're doing.
Yeah, some of the other top resorts like Pinehurst and Streamsong, Kiowa, Streamsong here being in Florida, only about an hour away from Tampa, where our listeners are from. They're all keeping eyes on this, and at some point, at some time, one of these guys, one of these corporate people are going to, be able to give them all the promises and, get them to kind of move into this corporate environment. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But I think the mystique and the part of just, being an average golfer who goes out on these trips and, enjoys these experiences is part of the lure, is working with the independent caddy and getting their vibe, and then, and the good caddies are going to rise to the crop, the cream of the crop, and be requested. And the bad caddies aren't going to make as much money because they're not putting the work in, the time, or they're not really getting an understanding or a vibe with their players. And then they'll move on. It's just like, it's macroeconomics in a microcosm world. Mike Hicks joining us here. Mike's Payne Stewart's former caddy, kind of weighed in on the situation in regards to being an independent category at the highest level. Tell us a story, Mike, about maybe getting hired or getting let go by one of your tour players that might be memorable?
Well, I mean, so Payne died in 99. 2000, I start with Bob Estes. And I caddied for him a couple of months. And I was like, you know what? I can't deal with this guy. But he was in the British Open, which was at St. Andrews in July. So in February, I was like, man, this is not for me. But because he was exempt into St. Andrews, and I wanted to go back to St. Andrews. So I stuck with him, but I was quitting him right after St. Andrews. I could not wait for that week to be over. And as it turns out, he was probably laying 8th with 9 holes to go. He had a shot at, having a really good week. And then in typical Bob fashion back in those days, he, didn't play very well in the back 9. And so that week ended, and I got a call from Charles Howell's agent. He was turning pro out of Oklahoma State. He was going to play 4 weeks in a row. And so the 4th week, he just signed a deal with Callaway. Now, he was a Ping guy his whole life, through college, growing up. Ping, Titleist golf ball. He signs with Callaway. Callaway just comes out with a ball. That's the first year they had a golf ball. Well, this golf ball went miles. Like back in 2000, he's hitting a 6-iron that's flying 210, okay, which was unheard of. His sand wedge would go 140 yards. I mean, he no control whatsoever. So the 4th week, he misses the first 3 weeks, first 3 cuts. 4th week, he makes the cut. We're in San Antonio. Makes the cut. And I said to him on Friday after we made the cut, I said, Charles, I said, let's play the Titleist ball this weekend and just see if it's the ball or if it's these clubs that need adjusting. So he plays the Titleist golf ball, finishes 8th, 9th, finishes top 10, best week he'd ever had as a pro. He played in 4. So I'm supposed to fly private with him from San Antonio to Columbus, Georgia. I'm standing outside his hotel room. Phone rings. It's his agent. We're going to go a different direction next week. Eli Callaway saw that he played the Titleist ball, and Charles said that you made him do it. And I went, dude, I didn't make him do anything. I just suggested it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So I got the boot right there after having a great week, just suggesting that he try to find out what was going on, right?
Yeah, process of elimination.
Process of elimination. Is it the club?
Not
Is it the
rocket
ball?
science.
Is it both? What is it? And I got the boot right there. Stranded in San Antonio. I'd given my rental car to a buddy to turn in. I got no flight. I got nothing.
This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to a great episode of Let's Go Low here. We're talking caddies on the Caddie's Corner with Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's caddy, and formerly Charles Howell caddy. We got Timothy Palmer on with us from Looper Talk. Timothy, we got another minute or so. Why don't you tell us a story maybe with one of your one of your experiences with one of your guys that our audience might like.
Oh, okay. I caddy for these gentlemen that own a bunch of retirement homes. And I had a guy down in Florida, ironically. He owned a bunch down there. And so they played this game Scotch, and they were playing for $100 a point, and they would double the bet. So it got real pricey. The good news is this money was donated to the Evans Fund at the end. So on the 18th hole of the last day, we were down 70 grand. And I had to read a putt for 18 grand. And luckily we missed. So now we're down 88 grand. And he ended up having to write a check at the end. And again, the money was donated. So it was really nice deal. But it was so funny because you could see the sweat pouring down his face walking down 18 abandoned. I told him right edge, and we pushed it about a ball and a half out, and it just barely crept around the edge. And so, yeah, that was real entertaining for me watching. So
was your loop donated as well?
Yeah. Well, I made sure that I was getting paid by the end of it. Yeah. I just thought it was funny because the guy I was caddying for, he goes, "Hey man, we gonna settle this up or what or not?" And he pulls out a checkbook out of his bag and just writes out the check. But he did. He wrote it out to the Evans Fund. and that was, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But that all that money got donated. So
That's cool. That's a cool story. That's
Yeah,
All
really
right, guys, that's another episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820. This is Jeff Stanislaw, your host from Golfers Unite. Take care, Tampa. We'll be back.